Hey everyone, I'm Andrew Bray, CEO of iDemo Games and the host for the upcoming crowdfunding campaign for Bloodwork: The Reckoning on GameFound April 28th. Now, I am so excited to be sharing our first gameplay video for Bloodwork with you today. And I am going to be showcasing mission number 2, where we face off against Gigarat the Unhinged and his grunts. Now, I will be heading into this mission in continuation from completing mission number 1, the tutorial mission, off camera. This is important to know because I've already selected my 4 mercenaries, and after completing the tutorial mission, I've unlocked my second ability as well as my first secondary attribute point that I get to spend however I wish with each of my 4 mercenaries. Now, I'm confident that this video will help showcase what makes Bloodwork so unique and why it demands your blade and a place on your table. Now, the engines that make Bloodwork: The Reckoning unique are legion, but my personal favorites are those that are geared around the actual building of your mercenary and having forward thinking about how they are going to attune to your play style. And so these are the abilities both for during your turn and during off turn to decrease downtime at the table. It keeps players engaged. And then we have the attack profiles. This is a mechanic that's really unique to Bloodwork. I haven't seen it anywhere else. And that's where all of your mercenaries have a selection of base attacks that get modified by both active triggered skills as well as passives that layer into Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3 skill slots. One of my favorite mechanics in Bloodwork is the dynamic defense die. I find in a lot of narrative campaign games, dungeon crawlers, what tends to happen is heroes close the distance with enemies and they then just stand there exchanging blow for blow. It's not very thematic, it's not terribly immersive. Now, this really helps to capture the chaos of combat, the unpredictability, the ebb and flow, how one moment you can have the high ground and really wallop on an enemy or be more defensive, and the next your boot's stuck in a puddle of mud and you slip a little bit and the enemy has the upper hand. So all of the enemies you'll face will have a static defense value, but with the defense die, when you roll that, it is added to their static defense, and round by round, your enemy's defense is going to fluctuate. Sometimes you'll have moments of opportunity, and sometimes it'll be really challenging to knock some health off of a particular enemy. But we have given you the tools you need to mitigate that. It's up to you to find the synergies to do so and capitalize on those moments. Another favorite system is the unique Fate deck. This is both our initiative system. It illustrates the turn order for both your mercenaries as well as the leader and grunts. And every card has both the initiative as well as the action economy for your enemies. And there are 3 sections, and based on where they're located, it dictates who goes, when, and what the enemies are going to do. In this video, you'll see a wide selection of examples of that for Gigarat the Unhinged. This is his particular deck, and each of these decks for elites and leaders and the faction that they hail from, their race, the action economy in these cards really captures their culture, their behavior, their beliefs, their scars. And so you'll find that these enemies are really thematic. Zalgara Knights, once honorable and very just, they are very militaristic, and you will fight them at times and find that they are very organized. Whereas orcs, goblins are much more chaotic and don't necessarily work together as well. The Blood deck is another engine in Bloodwork: The Reckoning that is fantastic. And this is what dictates where your hard-earned hits on the enemy land, because you will be striking different body slots: head, chest, arms, and legs. And the blood deck is going to tell you where you hit, any additional critical damage, buffs or debuffs that may occur, as well as this also dictates where the enemy is going to hit. It's a lot of fun. So the blood deck creates cinematic moments that really make each hit a story of its own. And we're confident you're going to love it. We then have an injury system where your prowess in battle is deeply affected when you are incapacitated, when your health is reduced to 0, and when you're revived by your fellow allies or one of your other mercenaries that you're controlling, you gain a injury, and these can only be healed and you can only recover in the town of Westarch, and they lead to permanent debuffs or negative status effects that persist mission to mission until you take care of that back in town. This helps capture the reality of combat, and when you sustain an injury, you won't be as effective as you normally are. Your shield arm has a deep laceration, you can't raise it as high, and your defense is down permanently. The mood deck is another similar really fun engine in Bloodwork, and this helps capture the fact that your travels through the narrative campaign in Bloodwork the Reckoning weigh on you. It is going to affect the psyche of your mercenaries. Now, the experiences you have during your travel are either going to harden your mind or shatter it. And that persists mission to mission, and you carry these experiences with you into battle, and that may make you more prepared or less prepared heading into the next fight. In my next video, I will also show the town phase and what that looks like and how you work to rebuild Westarch. Similarly, I will also showcase the travel phase, where we have multiple different types of event decks, which are small bite-sized narrative moments during your travel as you work to get to your next mission. This helps capture the reality of the grand scope of the narrative campaign, of the story being told, and you actually feel like you've weathered some storm as a result of the overland maps for each mission and the travel and the small little events that you encounter. These are chance opportunities with a stranger, or you get ambushed, or there's a strange anomaly as a result of corruption that's shattering Marana, and you explore that, or you happen to stumble upon upturned cart and there's a chest forgotten and you loot it. These are small little moments that add so much to the grand scheme of the entire experience. Every mission on success, you're going to roll on loot tables from the enemies you fought, and you're going to gain resources, and you'll have opportunities to loot what the leaders and elites are wearing. You take down those powerful foes, and you are going to find their legendary relics. Taking your hard-earned resources, bring that back to Westarch and craft powerful gear. Cleanse corruption during fights, push your luck to do so, and collect corruption as a resource that you can utilize in the town of Westarch to make powerful corrupted gear. Of course, being a product from iDemo Games, the miniatures are exquisite. All 100% human-made art, human-made sculpts, no AI. And the best part is we've partnered with 2 critically acclaimed authors, and together they have crafted an incredible narrative. As you pour through the campaign for Bloodwork the Reckoning, you will encounter 2 major factions that are at war with one another while the world of Marana is falling apart around them. You will be forced to make allegiance with one of these 2 factions and go through an incredible narrative campaign that is shaped by the culture, the beliefs, and the scars of that faction and their race. Think you understand the truth of Marana following that narrative experience? Think again. Play through as the other faction and watch as your understanding of the story completely unravels and is reshaped from the lens of the other faction, from their culture, their beliefs, and then understand a deeper truth to the greater narrative. Without further ado, let's dive into gameplay. Okay, let's dive into the second mission in Bloodwork, The Reckoning. We followed smoke in the sky to a campfire in what was likely once the town square. A small group of goblins huddled around the flickering flames, laughing and enjoying a bit of meat and, by the sounds of it, more than a little bit of ale. There was no sign of the blacksmith, or any townsfolk for that matter. We decided a direct assault against the drunken gobs would work well enough. That's when we were spotted by their leader, who we had mistaken for a hanging corpse. He was a goblin on stilts, but unlike any stilts we had ever seen. His bow was already drawn as he stared us down, his face twitching while he shared with us a wicked grin. He had a touched look in his eyes, wide and unblinking, like a man on his deathbed desperately trying not to fall asleep. "Look what we got here, boys," the mad goblin cackled. "Fresh meat for the fire." Okay, main objective of the mission is to kill Gigarat the Unhinged. Side objectives are to save the healer's daughter. This unlocks the first perk on the healer building in the town of Westarch. Special rules: the corruption timer is set to 5. To save the healer's daughter, a mercenary has to spend 1 action to activate the house event while standing on a space with a door. When the leader enters corruption, all corruption tokens have +2 to their difficulty. Starting a new round in Bloodwork, the first thing that we do is move the corruption tracker up by 1. If it were ever to reach the corruption symbol, then all enemies would automatically flip to their corrupted side, becoming more lethal. Next, we roll the enemy's dynamic defense die and put that onto their dashboard. So Gigarat has a 2 plus base defense of 2, so he has 4 defense this round, and mercenaries can only hit him on a 5+. Taking the Goblin Wrecker and Stickers defense die, we re-roll those, and the Wreckers are very defensive with a total of 6 this round, and the Stickers with a total of 4. Let's go ahead and draw our first fate card and see what happens. Fiery Retort. If there are 2 or fewer cards in the discard pile, draw a new fate card. Well, this is the only card in the discard pile, so let's go ahead and draw a new fate card. Insidious Trap. The way turn order works is if there is a helmet icon like this, the grunts are activating first. Mercenaries' activation is always denoted by their art portrait, and the elite or leader is denoted by the horned skull. So Gigarat activates last. So reading the grunt activation, it says support, move into optimal range 5 and attack a random enemy with range +2 and overpower +1. Then it says defenders, place a trap on the current location and disengage with speed +1. Here we see Goblin Stickers, and on their card we see Grunt, Goblin, and then their class Support. They have a base health of 10, a base defense of 0. They have a dynamic defense die that is W or white. They have armor values for their head, chest, arms, and leg slots as shown here. They have a speed of 5 or movement of 5, a range of 3 with their bow, and for every hit they inflict 2 damage. And when they attack, they roll 3d10 or 3 blue die. When they successfully get tactics, which is a grunt equivalent of a critical strike, they will inflict bleed if we are unsuccessful in resisting it. And their sort of passive trait is that every time they take damage, they disengage 1 and move away from the individual who hit them. Now I should mention that turn order for grunts is that it is always left to right and generally blue, red, then yellow. The Goblin Stickers normally have a range of 3, but because of the fate card, it says move into optimal range 5 due to range +2. And then they're going to attack a random enemy, which is identified by rolling a d4, and they gain overpower +1. Let's resolve that now. Left to right, we'll do the blue sticker, then the red, then the orange. Blue sticker goes first and rolls a 4. 4 denotes to the player dashboard for Maeve, and so Maeve is the target of the blue sticker this round. So the blue sticker has a speed of 5 and will move to be within range 5. 1, 2, 3, 4,
5. And that puts him in range of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He will roll with his 3 blue d10 and will need to overcome Maeve's base defense of 4, so they will be hitting on a 5+. We have a 10, a 5, and a 1, so that is 2 hits for 4 damage, but we also have Overpower +1, which will make it 5. All right, next we'll draw from the blood deck, which shows that the enemy hits with tactics. So this is a critical strike, and it will always target the head on a mercenary. Unfortunately for Maeve, she does not yet have any head armor and will eat that 5 damage, reducing her from 16 health to 11. As the blue sticker got tactics, he will attempt to inflict bleed, which Maeve can try to resist. Resilience checks from debuffs always use a mercenary's faith stat, and we see that Maeve has a base faith value of 3, but following the first tutorial mission, all mercenaries unlock their first secondary attribute point, and I chose to spend that on faith, leveling it to 4. This unlocked the iconography above the pin. Any icon above a pin is a permanent benefit to your mercenary, and this is healing power +1. But Faith of 4 also improves Maeve's ability to roll a successful resilience check. So she takes a faith value of 4 and adds it to a d10, and if it's 10 or higher, she will resist bleed. 4 + 7 is 11, so she is successful at avoiding that bleed. The red sticker will activate next and targets 1. Here we see that the player dashboard with 1 is Mary the Fairy, our mage, and she has a base defense of 4, so the sticker will hit on a 5+. Unique to Mary, however, is that she has a trait called Evasion +1, which means she can roll a d4 and add its value to her base defense against one of the enemy's attack die, and therefore can remove one attack if she's successful. Moving to be in optimal range 5, the red sticker will move there and be within range of Mary. Rolling 3d10, hitting on 5s. He only has 1 hit with a 6. Mary will attempt to evade with her d4, and she gets a 2. So a 2 plus her base defense of 4 is 6, and they have to exceed the value, so this hit is removed, and the sticker whiffs. Misses entirely due to her successful evasion. The orange sticker will go next and target number 3. This means he'll try to hit Halbjorn, our human warrior, who has a base defense of 3, but due to wearing the blacksmith shield, he gets a permanent bonus there as long as it's equipped, putting him at 4 defense, so they'll also be hitting on a 5+ against Halbjorn. With a speed of 5, the orange sticker can move to one of 2 locations. He can either end his movement here, adjacent to the red wrecker, or he can move to here, adjacent to the red sticker. If ending here, he'll be 6 spaces from Halbjorn, and if he is here, he will similarly be 6 spaces. Let's pretend that the orange sticker ends here, and drawing line of sight is always from the closest corner to the middle of the target's base. And if we are to do that, we see that his line of sight goes through the blue sticker. This leads to an obstruction in line of sight, and unless the unit has precision, he is unable to shoot through an object or a miniature like that. Precision is an ability that allows you to shoot through or around one unit to get to your target, but it cannot let you shoot through 2 units to get to your target. Therefore, the orange sticker will move over here instead, where he does have line of sight, but he only has range 5, and he's at range 6 right now, so he will still attack Halbjorn, but with -1 accuracy, meaning he is hitting on a 6+. And he gets a 8, a 7, and a 1. That didn't hold him up at all. So that is 4 damage plus 1 overpower, 5 damage heading towards Halbjorn. Let's draw our blood deck card, and we see that they target Halbjorn in the arms and inflict disarm. Looking at our debuff player aid, we see that disarm has a lock with a little swirl in it. This means that this is a debuff that cannot be dispelled. However, the die icon indicates that you can do a resilience check to try to avoid this. Now, disarm causes attack rate equals 1, and it's removed after attacking. This would mean that when Halbjorn activates next, he only gets to throw 1 die during his attack. Fortunately for Halbjorn, he has heavy leather gloves, which provide 1 armor, so that 5 damage is reduced by 1, so he will take 4 damage, reducing him from 20 HP to 16. Now, Halbjorn has a faith of 2, so he needs an 8+ on his resilience check in order to succeed and resist. He gets a 1 and is inflicted with disarm. Next up, we see that the defenders place a trap on their current location and then disengage with speed +1. Disengage normally means move away from the enemy by 3 spaces, and in this case, it will be 4. Shuffling up 3 traps so we don't know what is underneath, we will then place them by the grunts. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here we see 3 traps placed where the grunts were, and now they've moved 4 spaces back. Looking again at our fate card, we see that the mercenary portrait is next, which means we get to activate and players get to choose which mercenaries act when in any order. Okay, tactically, I'm not too upset about the fate card this turn because the Wreckers are fairly defensive. They would have been hard to injure this round, and they retreated away from us and are essentially untargetable this round. Whereas the Stickers have slightly less defense. We're hitting on a 5+, and they're up close, so we can get right up in their face and try to do some damage. Okay, for my first turn, I'm going to activate Maeve. Maeve is a Fey Cleric, and she uses medium armor, and therefore means she can also equip light armor. She has a free action unique to her, which range X, meaning anywhere on the board, on a turn can heal an ally for 2, but because of healing power +1 that we unlocked, it's actually 3. Now, Maeve is her own ally, and therefore I will use that free action to heal her from 11 back up to 14. She starts with 2 mana, that's what it means when it's in the brackets there, at the beginning of the mission, and then on activation gains 2 mana. So she's got 2 to start with, and now gains 2 on activation for a total of 4. Okay, so let's take a look at her attack profiles quickly. We see that she has Break Tactics, Thanar Harmony, and Heavy Strike. Heavy Strike is cool in that it adds an extra d6 to our attack rate. So we have 4 die, one of which is a d6. Thanar Harmony is unique in that it allows me to do combat reroll 2, meaning if I have a die that leads to an unsuccessful hit, we don't hit with it, I can re-roll that die up to 2 times, or if I had 2 die that missed, I can re-roll each of them once. And then Break Tactics, if I were to spend 2 mana and I successfully hit the enemy, then I get to decrease their defense die by 1. Cinematically, what that represents is that Maeve has found a weakness and is exploiting it against the Goblin Stickers. And so if she were successful in that and reduced their defense die to 3, that means during that round, any other mercenary activation gets to exploit that weakness as well against all of the Goblin Stickers, not just the one that was targeted. Now, Maeve has Death and Life. This is an active skill triggered with an action and by spending 3 of her mana. It leads to her melee attack becoming range +2, so a 3 range attack. And on damage, she heals an ally in range 4 for 3, and would actually be 4 because of her healing power, +1, or she can dispel 1 debuff. Currently, I don't have any benefit linked with Heavy Strike, but you do see I have a passive linked to Break Tactics that says move 2 after attacking. And as these grunt stickers are going to retreat one or disengage one every time they get struck, using break tactics would allow me to reposition to be able to hit them again on my next action. Maeve has a speed of 4, so she is going to activate and move adjacent to the goblin sticker in orange using one of her actions. Let's look at the anatomy of her attack. I am going to use break tactics and spend 2 mana in order to attempt to reduce the defense die on the stickers by 1. After hitting, I can also move 2 after the attack. I have a temple sword that you can see here that's range 1, so I have to be adjacent. It has an attack rate of 3, so I get to roll 3 d12, and for every hit I inflict 1 damage. But in my offhand I also have the temple blade, which has overpower plus 1, and that adds 1 damage at the end of my calculations. The stickers have a defense of 4, so I'm hitting on a 5+. And I have an 11, an 11, and an 8. That is 3 hits for 3 damage, plus overpower is 4 damage. And that means we're successful at lowering their defense die. The sticker will then disengage 1, and that means he will move back. But because I was successful, I am able to move 2 after attacking as a free movement from my passive, and I will move there. So I still have 1 action remaining. Let's go ahead and reduce their defense die to 3. Hitting with 4 damage, we draw from the blood deck and see that we target them in the legs. The stickers have 1 armor in the legs, so of the 4 damage, only 3 gets through to the orange sticker, reducing him to 7 HP. With my remaining action, let's go ahead and spend 2 mana and do the exact same thing. Now we're hitting on a 4+. Let's target the orange sticker again. And we have a 1, an 8, and a 1. So that is only hitting with 2 damage. Draw from the blood deck, and we get the arms. The stickers have 1 armor in their arm slot, so we will only inflict 1 damage, dropping him to 6 HP. The sticker will then disengage 1 from being struck, and Maeve gets 2 free movement after that attack due to the passive, and will move onto this objective location, ending her turn. As Maeve was successful in striking the enemy again with that attack, she lowers the defense die again by 1. Now that we would be hitting on a 3+ against stickers, let's go ahead and activate Sarah next. Now she is an elf archer and utilizes medium armor like Maeve. She has a unique trait of resilience +1, so she would actually succeed on resilience checks on a 9+ instead of a 10+. Now she utilizes focus as her power, and at the beginning of a mission starts with 1 focus and gains 3 focus only at the end of her activation after all 3 actions have been used. She then will lose 1 focus each time she is damaged by an enemy. Thematically, that makes sense. As an archer, you're taking time to line up your next shot, and if there's an enemy hitting you and inflicting damage, your amount of power and focus is going to diminish. Let's go ahead and use Elven Eyes, which passively lets me ignore 1 armor, so everything will get through on a sticker as they only have 1 armor in their slots, and will benefit from attack rate +1. But after the attack, Saren will get defense down. Because of the attack rate +1, we will be using 3 of the D10, as she has an attack rate of 2 on her bow and gains 1 from the passive. She can shoot at range 4, and for every hit inflicts 2 damage. Because we reduced the defense die, we're now hitting on a 3+, so Saren will take her first action and will move 4 speed. 1, 2, 3, 4. And she is within range 4 of the orange sticker, whom we've already damaged. So we will roll our d10 and hit on a 3+. And we get a 1, a 9, and a 7. That is 2 hits for 4 damage. Taking a closer look at Saren, we actually see that she starts the game with 4 as a agility attribute, and this is her primary attribute. And your first benefit in each form of attribute is unlocked at a level of 4. And so she started with a pip right in this spot. And after the first mission, gained her first secondary attribute point, which I spent in Wit. And Wit gives her +1 overpower. So that hit we just did inflicts 5 damage total. And this boot icon adds +1 speed, so she has a total of 4. Saren gains defense down, 5 damage on that hit, and it goes to the sticker's head, but we get to ignore the armor that's there, and so 5 damage gets through. So using Elven Eyes allowed us to avoid that armor, and we go from 6 to 1 HP remaining. However, the sticker will disengage 1 and probably be just out of my range now. Saren only has 1 action left, so she will go ahead and take a shot at the sticker in red. She'll go ahead and make the same attack and will be stacking defense down as a result. And she gets a 3, a 2, and a 5. Recall, we're hitting on a 3+, so that is 2 hits, plus overpower is 5 damage. Drawing from the blood deck, we strike the enemy in the head and ignore the armor, inflicting 5 damage to the red sticker. Sticker in red therefore drops to 5 remaining HP. Saren stacks that defense down and the red sticker will disengage 1. Now with 3 actions now used, we end our activation and gain 3 focus. Halbjorn's chomping at the bits at the sideline here. He wants to get in there and generate some fury, so he'll activate and move 2 spaces to be adjacent to the sticker in blue. Now he has disarm, meaning he only has an attack rate of 1. Fortunately for Halbjorn, he has the Runed Battlehammer, which only has an attack rate of 1 and has high offense of 4, so he is not affected by that too much. Now, he is a human warrior who is utilizing heavy armor and for a free action can switch weapon without having to waste one of his 3, which would allow him to do something like that and equip his blacksmith's hammer as an offhand, which gives him then an attack rate of 2, but he would suffer the loss of 2 offense from the 4 on his Runed Battlehammer. So he's more likely to hit with an attack rate of 2, but might forego some of the damage potential. I am not going to do that, however, as my attack rate is 1, and I want to pack a punch. Now he starts the mission with 0 fury and gains 2 fury each successful attack when he is not using his skills. So if he uses one of his 3 attack profiles without using an active skill, then he can generate fury. Thematically, I like to play Halbjorn a little reckless. I think it fits his personality, so I'm going to use Reckless Power. And I'm rolling a d6 where the enemy's defense is low. So I will hit on a 3, a 4, a 5, or a 6, but I get to add the critical value from the blood card even if I don't crit. Rolling that d6, I get a 5, so I am successful at hitting. That is 4 damage. And as I've now attacked, I get to remove disarm. Sometimes being reckless pays off. Let's see how much crit damage, and 2 additional crit damage. And we strike the enemy in the body. So that is a total of 6 damage towards the blue sticker's body. And Halbjorn's just flexing now because he struck their weak area where they have no armor. So he inflicts 6 full damage to the blue sticker, reducing them to 4 HP. As Halbjorn successfully hit an enemy with an attack profile without using a skill, he gains 2 fury. The blue sticker is then going to disengage 1. Halbjorn will then use his remaining action to move and will slide 3 spaces over here to be closer to the Bloom of Corruption. Okay, last but certainly not least, let's activate Mary the Fairy Mage. She utilizes light armor, has evasion +1 and mana 2 at the beginning of the mission. On activation, she gains 2 more mana for a total of 4. Now she also has a starting primary attribute level of 4, so already has overpower +1 unlocked. So anytime she inflicts damage at the end of her calculation, we'll get +1 damage. And her secondary attribute I put into luck, which adds +1 critical damage anytime she has a critical hit. Now, Mary has the ability Blink, and this is what I started the first mission with. And as a result of finishing the first mission and moving into the second, we unlock a second ability, and every mercenary got a off-turn ability, and that is denoted by the green banner here, whereas active abilities during your activation are denoted by a red banner. These require an action to utilize and any power cost denoted, whereas the off-turn abilities are utilized by inflicting yourself with fatigue, allowing you to use this off-turn to aid an ally or yourself. You would then, on your next activation, have to use an action to mend fatigue away or suffer the consequences of its negative status. So let's go ahead and use Blink. This is the first time we're seeing an ability. We're going to spend 3 mana and make Mary very mobile right now, teleporting 6. Teleporting 6, she's going to move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 up onto this house. Now, being at this elevation adds +2 range to her ranged attacks. For her second action, Mary is going to use Arcane Acumen, where she has Overpower +1 against grunts, and that allows her with the Ring of Fire to roll 3d8s and will be hitting on a 3+. I only have 1 power left. Their armor or their defense is only 2. I don't think I need to spend the 1 mana to get +1 accuracy here. With a range of 5, the orange sticker with 1 remaining HP is only 3 spaces away and certainly targetable. So hitting on a 3+, we get a 6, a 5, and a 7. That is 3 hits. Now recall from her wit of 4, she has Overpower +1, so that is 4 damage. And the passive she gets from this skill is Overpower +1 against grunts, so that is actually 5 damage inflicted. We already know that the sticker isn't going to be able to mitigate this incoming damage, but we still draw a blood deck card to see where we hit, because sometimes it'll give us a buff. And we strike them in the legs where they have 1 armor, so 5 minus 1 is 4, but with only 1 remaining HP, the orange sticker is dead, and Mary gains the first goblin head. We'll go ahead and remove the orange sticker from the health track, and remove him from the play area. Mary will then go ahead and make with her last action the same action but against the red sticker, also not utilizing accuracy +1 and saving that 1 remaining mana. So hitting on a 3+, we get a 1, a 7, and a 6. That is 2 hits with 2 overpower is 4 damage. Draw from the blood deck and we strike them in the body where they have no armor. And so that is 4 damage to the sticker in red, reducing them from 5 to 1 remaining HP. Now Mary got the first kill and she claims the first goblin head, which is actually a resource that you can bring back to the town of Westarch to the guild. So we collect heads. And the sticker in red will disengage away from her attacker and will move in that direction. Okay, now we look at the leader's activation. This is Gigarat, supportive shots. If he is in range of 2 or more enemies, he attacks all enemies in range with attack rate -1. Gigarat has a range of 4. For every hit is 3 offense or 3 damage, and he rolls 3d8. Currently, Gigarat is not within range 4 of anyone, and so if the leader is in range of 1 enemy, which he is not, he's not in range of anyone. If the leader has no enemies in range, move 3 spaces towards the closest mercenary. The mercs will activate last on the next fate card, regardless of the orientation. So he is only moving 3 spaces towards the closest mercenary, but not actually doing an attack. The closest mercenary is actually Maeve, where she is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spaces away. And with his range of 4, he would suffer a -2 range penalty when trying to shoot her. So to be range 4, he would actually need to be 2 spaces away. So this is where he would need to be to shoot her. He's going to move 3 spaces towards her. 1, 2, 3, and is still out of range. That ends this round, but as we can see, Halbjorn is one space away from a Corruption Bloom and would need to use one action to get there and then another action to attempt to cleanse it. And so I'm going to use his Gambit action. Gambit is this slot here, and it is denoted by a acrylic cube, and we are going to remove it. That means it is spent, and it is a once per mission tactical reposition between rounds to get an extra edge against the enemy. So Halbjorn's used his, and now no longer has one. Now we'll move him 1, 2, to be adjacent to the Corruption Bloom. And now on his activation next turn, he can immediately try to cleanse this and still have 2 actions to do something else proactive. At the start of the next round, we move up the Corruption track as we know, and we re-roll the enemy defense die. Gugarat is the exact same. The Goblin stickers get a 3, and the Goblin Wreckers get a 4. And lastly, we draw a new fate card, which is Gigarat the Unhinged. He goes first, and we would go second, but because of his supportive shots on the last card, the Grunts will go next, and then we will go last. Okay, so let's go ahead and do Gigarat's activation. We see a Goblin's Greed. Without moving, attack the closest enemy with range +2. Then move towards the chest with speed +2 and gain one of the leader's special items at random. Oh, this is not a good draw for us. As we can see here, Gigarat is actually positioned in such a fashion that Maeve is 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces away, and Mary is 1, 2, 3. But because she's at such an elevation, he actually has -2 to his range when attacking her. Now he has a normal range of 4, -2 is 2. However, due to the fate card, he has +2 range on this attack. Therefore, his range of 2 would be 4, and she is within line of sight and range. As the rules are currently written, players have choice then as to who Gigarat is going to attack. I, however, like to randomize this, and I will roll a d4 to see who he's going to target. Mary's dashboard identifies her as number 1, and Maeve's is number 4. For that reason, we'll say Mary is 1, 2, and Maeve is 3, 4, and we get a 3, and therefore he is targeting Maeve. He will be rolling 3d8 and inflicting 3 offense per hit and attempting to overcome a defense of 4, so hitting on a 5+. He has a 5, 7, and 8. That is absolutely devastating. 9 damage towards Maeve. This seems like the perfect opportunity for Saren to use Distracting Shot. This is one of her abilities that she can use off turn. And it says, when an enemy in range activates, you may gain fatigue to force the enemy to reroll all hits. Definitely very useful, but it comes at a high cost. Fatigue inflicts speed -1, defense -1, and accuracy -1. And I'll have to use a mend action to remove it, making Saren only have 2 actions, or accept all of those negatives. Let's go ahead then and fatigue Saren. She is just stacking the debuffs here. She's going to have a dangerous round next round, and let's go ahead and re-roll all those hits. And we have a 2, a 4, and an 8. So we went from 3 hits to only 1. That was perfect. In my mind, well worth the risk of fatiguing Saren. Let's draw a Blood Deck card. 3 damage towards Maeve, and it hits the body, where she has the Thanaran Battle Armor, reducing 3 damage to 2. Let's go ahead then and drop her down to 12 remaining HP. So with the Goblin's Greed, Gigarat did not move. He attacked Maeve, and now he's going to move with speed +2 towards his chest. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to be adjacent. Looking at his loot table, we see that 7 through 10 are his 4 special pieces of gear. And so we'll quickly roll a d10 and see which one he is going to grab. And he gets an 8, giving him his lucky left hand. Okay, his lucky left hand is one of his 4 relics, and we see here it gives him, if defense die is 1 or 2, he gets to re-roll it once, making it potentially harder to hit him and much more defensive. However, we now have the opportunity to acquire this by killing the leader while his defense is below 5. If we do acquire this, the card becomes a powerful relic for us to equip, and it increases that mercenary's luck by 1. Let's go ahead and slot it into his dashboard. Okay, let's go ahead then, and normally we would activate next, but due to last turn, we know the grunts go next. Do I have to do everything? Regroup and heal for 7, so all grunts are going to collapse towards Gigarat and heal. Defenders before support, left to right. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And 1, 2, 3, 4. 5. 6. Now the Goblin Wreckers had disengaged after dropping traps in the first round, so they are all still at full health because I did not manage to attack any of them. And we killed the orange sticker, so his board is removed. However, the blue sticker, who was at 4 remaining HP, will now heal for 7, putting him back to full HP at 10 health. Okay, let's go ahead and activate Saren first, who has fatigue and defense down -2. Defense down is only removed by being dispelled or by being attacked. So let's mend fatigue and have 2 actions remaining. I'm going to do something a little risky here. I am going to move Saren 1, 2, 3. As soon as I enter adjacency with a trap, I have to declare, do I want to try to evade it, and if successful, get to continue my movement, or do I want to stop and try to disarm it? On success, disarming allows me to keep the trap, put it in my inventory, and use it in the future against enemies. If unsuccessful, the trap will cause 2 true damage to me. In both cases, I need to succeed on a skill check. If trying to evade, it uses agility, so I would need a D10 roll plus agility 4. To disarm, I need to do the same, but with wit, which is currently also 4. Now, if I'm going to disarm them, I basically have to choose that for both, because disarming one would end my movement. I can't then evade and gain it back on the other trap. Therefore, I either disarm both of them or attempt to evade both of them and then continue my movement for 1 more square. I'm going to try to disarm both and gain those as a resource. So with a wit of 4, try to disarm the first one, and we get a 4, and that is a total of 8. And I misspoke earlier, it is not a 10 that we're trying to overcome, but the actual value underneath the token. So let's flip that now, and we see it is agility 7 or wit 7. In this case, because we were disarming, we declared that we were going to disarm. We got an 8, 4 plus our stat of 4. So this is disarmed and ours. Now let's go ahead and do the same thing for the other trap, and we get a 9. 9 plus 4 is 13, and it was a 9. So good roll, and we're successful there as well. Okay, so I've added those to my inventory, and we see that with the Elven Bow, I have a range of 4, and I have 1 action remaining. The Wreckers are currently 6 spaces away from me, so I am going to attempt to attack one, but with -2 to my accuracy as a result of needing to get to 6 range. You can do that for up to 2 squares. Each additional square reduces your accuracy by 1. So I'm going to use Flawless Composure, and I don't need to worry about precision as nothing is blocking my line of sight. This will give me the best odds of overcoming their defense plus my -2 to accuracy. The Wreckers currently have a total defense of 5, so I would normally hit on a 6+, but because of -2 to accuracy, I am now hitting on an 8+. So I will target the Wrecker in red, who is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spaces away. Attack rate of 2. I got a crit and a miss. All right, so that is 2 damage plus my overpower 1 for a total of 3 damage. Let's draw the blood deck card, and we see that we get 2 additional crit damage for 5 total. It does say body or legs, but because I crit, I get to choose the location. The Goblin Wreckers have only, they have no armor on their legs, so that is where I am going to target. And so all 5 damage gets through to the Wrecker in red, dropping him from 12 HP to 7 remaining. That is my third and final action for Saren, so she will gain 3 power for a total of 7. Next, let's activate Maeve and gain her 2 mana. She's currently standing on the objective marker. Let's go ahead and spend an action to open the house. And this triggers the house event. Approaching the healer's house, we heard noise and screams coming from within. We rushed to open the door and found a goblin stomping through the room, and Gliston, the healer's daughter, covered in blood. Luckily, the blood was the goblin's, as he overly underestimated her prowess with a knife. He stumbled toward us with his hatchet, trying to do some damage and escape. Roll for agility 10. Maeve currently has an agility of 3, so we need a 7 plus. And we get a 4. On fail, the goblin's hatchet managed to give the mercenary a painful gash, but in that process, the goblin was defenseless, and we easily overpowered him. Take 2 true damage. Continue. We told Gliston that the path behind us is cleared, and she quickly ran towards safety. Explore the house. Check luck 6. Maeve only has a luck of 1, so we need a 5 plus, and we get a 4. On pass, gain 1 common item and 2 gold. But because you failed, gain 1 gold. Do better. So Maeve will gain 1 gold, and I'll put that in her inventory. Now that was a secondary objective that was not required, and some secondary objectives are much more challenging than others, but by doing this, pursuing it, we have now unlocked the first perk on the Healers building in the town of Westarch, giving us more opportunity to do useful things during town phase. For my second action, I will activate Maeve and move with a speed of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 to be adjacent to this corruption token. I'm now going to try to cleanse that with my remaining third action, which requires a D10 roll, and add it to my faith value. I put my secondary attribute point in faith, so it is 4, so I need a 6 plus, and we get a 7. Again, this is not, that's to overcome a base of 10. However, we don't know yet what's under here for the skill check, and it is 7. And so we are successful in cleansing this bloom of corruption. Sometimes on a critical success, you may be rewarded for that with some extra bonus, and on a critical fail, meaning a die roll of 1, sometimes you can have significantly negative effects from failing a skill check like this. Let's go ahead and put that in Maeve's inventory. Corruption is a resource we can use in town to make powerful corrupted gear. Not only that, by cleansing that bloom of corruption, we have delayed the corruption of enemies, and so we get to move the track back up by 1. Let's activate Halbjorn next and do the same thing with this bloom of corruption. Halbjorn has a faith of 2, so this makes this skill check more challenging, and we see we actually have to overcome a skill check of 8. On critical fail, take 2 true damage. So let's go ahead and roll for that, and we get a 4. No harm, no foul there, but we do waste an action, so I will spend another action to attempt that again, needing a 6 plus to succeed. Here we go, and we get a 3. Unfortunately, miss again. If I were to attempt that again, I would fatigue myself. I don't think that's worth that at this point in time. So I'm going to go ahead and activate Halbjorn and move him towards Saren. 1, 2, 3. Actually, I changed my mind. I'm going to bring him back, stay there, and for my final action, I'm actually going to use Mend to heal myself for 2, thereby increasing to a total of 18 and ending my turn. Finally, let's activate Mary, gaining 2 mana. For Mary's turn, I'm going to activate and move 1, 2, 3, which I can do as I have flying. And then second action, use Mend to heal Maeve for 2, bringing her from 12 to 14. I will then move 1, 2, 3 again, gaining that elevation without movement penalty, without using this ladder, because I have flying. This will increase Maeve to 14. And that will end this round. I did not want to move up with any of my mercenaries so that they have less chance of being focused, the target of focused fire from the grunts. Next up, let's move up corruption, start of a new round. Re-roll the defense die, and we see a 2 for Gigarat, but because of lucky left hand, he's going to re-roll that again. Gigarat's die, we get a 5. That is not good for us and illustrates the potency of his relics. Each individual piece of gear has some unique perk that makes him more dangerous and gives him a different feel through playthrough. Finally, before we pull the next fate card, I am going to use Maeve's Gambit action. So this is the second mercenary to use and lose that for the rest of the mission to tactically reposition to be closer so I don't have to waste actions closing the distance to enemies this upcoming round. As Saren has a lot of defense down, I'm going to leave her where she is, and Maeve I'm going to keep up, or Mary I'm going to keep up here due to the +2 range. Actually, I am going to use Saren's Gambit as well to tactically reposition her and go 1, 2, 3, moving her away from the grunts so that hopefully not too many can get attacks on her while she has defense down. Drawing the next fate card, we have Burn, Burn, Burn. If more than 2 grunts are killed, there's not. We only have 1 grunt killed, so we go to the next section. If more than 2 grunts are killed, again, there is not. So if fewer than 2 grunts are killed, move to the 2 closest defenders and inflict burn on them. Those defenders activate, attacking the closest enemy, and then inflict burn on all adjacent units, whether friendly or foe. This is a perfect example of how the Fate deck is designed to fit the behavior, the culture, the scars, the beliefs of that particular race and faction. And so Gigarat doesn't give a lick about his grunts and is willing to burn his own allies in order to take care of business. Now, Gigarat doesn't have to move at all as he's adjacent to 2 wreckers, so we'll simply add burning to them and then they activate. On activation, burn inflicts 2 true damage, so the red wrecker will go from 7 to 5 and the orange will go from 12 to 10. They then move with a speed of 2 towards the closest mercenary. Halbjorn is 7 spaces from the red wrecker and Maeve is 6 spaces, so he will move this way 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and end his activation there, and the orange wrecker will do the same, ending here. Now burn on activation, take 2 true damage, moving 4+ spaces removes burn. They both just moved 5 spaces and therefore burn is removed. We are fortunate in that our tactical repositioning and just where we were out of range for this to affect us. But you can certainly see that had we been closer in rank and that fate card came up, it could have been devastating. Okay. Before moving on to our next turn, let's review those other options Gigarat had. If we had have already killed 2 grunts and we were so close on a second grunt, then he would have actually prioritized attacking the closest enemy himself and then moving towards the closest unlit fire, signal fire. And if he were to light both signal fires on the map, he calls in reinforcements. But because he still has sufficient remaining grunts to feel confident, he does not do that and instead tries to motivate his grunts to attack us. Questionable tactics at best. Okay, now we get to go. I'm going to activate Halbjorn first and try to redeem myself again. We need a 6+ to meet or exceed that 8. So let's roll a d10 and we get a 9. So finally, we cleanse this corruption and move the corruption track back up to 4. So far doing a good job of mitigating corruption. And let's go ahead and throw that corruption on our inventory. For my remaining 2 actions, I'm going to try to close rank with Halbjorn and get him up into the fray. So he will move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to be adjacent to the corruption and the goblin stickers. Okay, next let's activate Saren. We have a healthy pool of focus, and she has a range of 4, as we know, and I want to get her into the fray. So let's go ahead and activate her and move her 1, 2, 3, 4, and have 2 actions remaining. Again, I still have defense -2. For my second action, I am going to spend 1 power to trigger Hawkeye. So an action and 1 focus rather to attack. Use Hawkeye, which lowers the defense die by 1 on my next attack if the attack is successful. And I am going to be very risky and use Elven Eyes to gain 1 extra attack rate, 1 extra die, and again stack defense down, but I will ignore 1 armor. Let's go ahead and add that defense down, and this is my last action, and I will be targeting the Red Wrecker, who has 5 remaining HP. Correction, I'm noticing an error. All those wreckers were down here. I've never actually attacked them yet. So the only damage he should have is from being set on fire with burn. So he should be 10 remaining HP. The damage I've already given him was actually to the red sticker. That's who should have that damage. So backtracking here, if I ignored the burn damage, he would be at 7 in my mind, down from 10 when thinking about red being a sticker. So the red sticker should actually be down from 10 to 7 HP over here. So we'll go ahead and correct that. And this wrecker should have 12 health starting, -2 from burn, so he should be at 10 HP. So let's correct that. Okay, the Wreckers currently have a total defense of 4 right now, so I'm hitting on a 5+. However, this attack will lower their defense die by 1 if successful, and I get to ignore 1 armor, so 5+. And we have a 9, a 5, and a crit. Yes, this is huge. So that is 6 damage right there. Plus my overpower from Wit 4 is 7. Drawing from the blood deck, we get the arms with 2 additional damage for 9 total. But because of the crit, we get to choose the location. Let's go ahead and choose the legs, dropping the red wrecker from 10 to 1 remaining HP due to 9 damage. That is amazing. And that attack dropped his defense die by 1. Okay, next I'm going to activate Mary, who is currently range 3 from the red wrecker here, and range 4 to the orange. Orange wrecker has 10 remaining HP and the red has 1. She's going to gain her 2 mana for a total of 5. And we are going to go ahead and use lightning. So 2 mana in order to get range 5. We don't actually need that, but then we pay 2 additional mana to take advantage of a second attack on a second target up to range 2 from the first. So we're zapping lightning from one to the other. And we'll go ahead and use Elemental Mastery and spend the mana cost to get Overpower +1. So we will be rolling 3d12, and because of their defense now being 3, we need a 4 or higher to succeed. For every hit, we're getting 3 damage, plus Overpower 1 is 4, plus Overpower from Wit is 5, And if we happen to crit, we'll get an extra crit bonus damage from luck 4. Never underestimate a fairy. Here we go, hitting on a 4+. We have a 2, a 12, and a 10. That is huge. 2 damage from the 2 successful hits. This one here is a miss. And plus our 2 overpower is 4 damage. But we get the crit bonus, which is 5. And then we draw from the blood deck and we get 2 additional damage there for a total of 7. And we get to choose the location. This unfortunately was targeting the stick or the wrecker in red, who only has 1 remaining HP. And even if we wanted to target the orange one, we wouldn't, because Mary doesn't have precision and wouldn't have line of sight through a obstructing unit. But 7 damage minus 0, as I'm going to choose the legs again, puts him down from 1 to 0, removing the red wrecker from play. We'll slide orange over and remove him from the board. We then try to zap that attack to the second target, 2 spaces from the first target, and again, hitting on a 4+, we get a 2, a 3, and a 9. Unfortunately, that is only 1 hit. Plus 1 overpower from the attack itself, plus our wit is 3 damage. Drawing from the blood deck, we get the head, and they have 1 armor there, so 3 minus 1 is 2, and he will drop from 10 to 8 remaining HP. Now with the obstructing unit out of line of sight, we will go ahead and make another attack against the wrecker in orange. I have no mana remaining, but I will use Arcane Acumen to benefit from Overpower +1 against grunts. So that will give me 1 damage per hit, 1 damage from here, and 1 damage from there. Hitting on a 4+, we have a 1, a 6, and a 5. That's 2 hits, plus 2 overpower is 4 damage. Drawing from the blood deck, we get the arms and... Oh no, we didn't crit, so we don't get that. If that had been here, we would have had that. But in any case, 4 damage to the arms. 4 minus 1 armor is 3, dropping him to 5. Let's go ahead and do the same thing for my third and final action, and I will fatigue myself in doing so, but we get 2 more hits, and we get fatigue. Drawing from the blood deck, those 2 hits are going to the body. I was really hoping Mary would finish him off, but no dice. So 4 minus 2 is 2, dropping him to 3 HP. That leaves us with Maeve, our final activation, gaining 2 mana. Now she has a free action where range X, she can heal an ally for 2, but because of healing power +1, it's actually 3. Halbjorn is currently at 18 HP. Saren and Mary are both full at this moment, and Maeve is currently at 14. So she will take the 3 as she is her own ally to heal to full health at 16 as a free action. I'm going to go ahead and take 3 mana to use Death and Life so that I can make an attack at a total range of 3, as my Temple Sword has a range of 1, +2 is 3. On damage to an enemy, I can heal an ally in range 4 for 3 or dispel 1. With that in mind, let's activate and move 4 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4. This leaves me within 3 range of the orange wrecker and 4 range of an ally, and if I'm successful, I will dispel one of these defense down from Saren. Okay, I have an attack rate of 3, rolling d8s with combat reroll 2. Hitting on a 4+, and we have a 6, a 3, and a 2. So let's use 1 combat reroll to reroll that, and we get a 7 for a second hit. Let's use the other combat reroll for a 1. That is a critical fail and automatically misses. So we have 2 hits for 2 damage, plus the overpower from my Temple Blade offhand is 3 damage. Let's go ahead then and remove one of these defense down. And with only 3 remaining HP, let's hope I get extraordinarily fortunate in the draw from the blood deck so that we target the legs and bypass everything and kill the orange wrecker. Here we go, drawing from the blood deck, we get the body. No, we do not get it. Ooh, however, we do get knockback +2. This is going to work out, I think, you guys. Let's take a look at how this works. We struck the body, so 3 minus 2 is 1 damage. However, let's go take a look at where we're positioned. Knockback forces the targeted unit away from the attacker, and in this case, there's only one place to go, and that's here for 1 space, but it was knockback 2. And then he strikes an obstructing fire pit, and hitting terrain like that inflicts 2 true damage, which removes his remaining 2 HP, and we have killed the second Goblin Wrecker, and we can remove him from the board. For my last action, I am just going to try to close the gap and stop here after 3 movement. That would have ended our turn. However, looking ahead then at the grunt activation, we see if a grunt is within range 3 of a leader, all 3 of them remaining are, they lose 2 HP, then attack the closest enemy with overpower +2. Maeve has less health than Halbjorn and is similarly defensive, but I'd rather he take the brunt of that, so I'm going to actually not move her to close that distance. Let's go ahead then and move her back those 3 spaces, and I will just end her turn there. Okay, we saw that the fate card said if a grunt is within range 3 of a leader, lose 2 HP, then attack the closest enemy with overpower +2. All 3 grunts then will lose 2 HP, so the red sticker will drop to 5. The blue sticker will... I actually have his acrylic cubes backwards. He has 10 health and is losing 2 for the first time, dropping him to 8 remaining HP. And the blue wrecker will take his first damage, dropping to 10 from 12. Also note, earlier I moved Maeve from here down to there, mended and healed Maeve, and then returned back up here. That was actually in error. The old rule set was that you could mend an ally, but the revisions have been that you cannot, and I forgot that. We will therefore reduce Maeve's health by 2. Now that all grunts have had their health reduced, let's go ahead and activate them in priority. Defenders, then support. The blue wrecker will then activate with speed 5 to target the closest mercenary, which is Halbjorn, so he'll move 3 spaces to be adjacent, then make an attack with an attack rate of 3 using D6. On each hit will inflict 2 damage, and on tactics would inflict knockdown. But he also benefits from +2 overpower as a result of Bedlam on this fate card. Hitting on a 5+ against Halbjorn, he gets a 6, 4, and 4. That's 1 hit for 2 damage, +2 overpower is 4. Drawing from the blood deck, we see that he hits Halbjorn in the body. 4 minus 2 armor is 2 damage, so we will reduce to 16 HP. Activating the blue sticker next, he's currently adjacent to Halbjorn and would therefore suffer -1 to accuracy if attacking from there, but he has a speed of 5 and will prioritize the closest target as per the fate card's instructions, but he will move to be at optimal range where he doesn't have that -1 accuracy. He will then move the minimum distance to achieve this, and that is either 1, 2 in this direction, or 1, 2, 3 here, where his closest corner would be able to see the middle of his base, kind of thematically leaning around his ally. So he would not be obstructing, but because this is the shorter distance to be at range without that penalty, he will move here. Rolling 3d10 and hitting on a 5+, we have a 9, a 10, and a 4 with 2 overpower. That is 4 damage, 6 damage with the overpower. Drawing from the blood deck, we see that he hits Halbjorn in the legs where we have no armor. That is a huge hit, reducing Halbjorn from 16 to 10 HP. Finally, the sticker in red is already at range of Halbjorn without penalty, so will not move and will make the same attack, hitting on a 5+. And he gets a 9, a 7, and a 2. That is again 6 damage. Drawing from the blood deck, we see that he hits Halbjorn in the arms. 6 minus 1 is 5, so Halbjorn will drop to a nerve-wracking 5 remaining HP. Note, if he were to suffer a killing blow, he would drop to 0 HP. But if that happens when you're at 3 HP or above, and then you're killed, you get the opportunity to roll a cheat death check. On success, you actually stay alive with 1 remaining HP. However, if you are at less than 3 HP before the attack and then die, you are not able to roll a cheat death check. The only mercenary who still has Gambit, as this is now the end of the round, is Mary, so I will tactically move her up to 3 spaces with her speed of 3 to get her closer. This ends that round, so we will move Corruption up by 1. We'll go ahead and re-roll those defense die, and we get a 6 for Gigarat. Huge, very defensive. We'll be hitting on a 9+. Let's re-roll for the last remaining Wrecker, and he is a 4, so we're hitting on a 6+ total. And the 2 stickers, we will be hitting on a 4+. Very defensive. Let's go ahead then and draw the next fate card and see what happens. We get fire arrows. Gain 3 fire arrows and attack a random enemy. Each time the leader attacks, remove 1 fire arrow and inflict burn. Let us go ahead then and place 3 acrylic cubes next to Gigarat for fire arrows. We have tokens for these that you would place near his dashboard. I just can't find mine right now, so we'll use these. He's then going to target a random enemy. So we roll and we get a 4, which is Maeve, who is here. Drawing line of sight from closest corner, we see that Gigarat has line of sight and he has a range of 4 and is currently within range. Here we see that he has that range of 4, is rolling 3d8, and on successful hit, 3 offense per hit. And if he were to get tactics, he will inflict poison. Again, he has precision, so if there was a unit obstructing his line of sight, he would not be hindered by that. And if anyone finishes their turn adjacent to them or to him, they will take 1 true damage from thorns. Maeve has a defense of 4, so hitting on 5+, he gets an 8, a 4, and a 4. That is 1 hit for 3 damage. Drawing from the blood deck, we see that he gets, oh no, he gets tactics. All right, so inflicting poison and burn. We have 2 resilience checks to make. Maeve again spent that secondary attribute in faith, making it 4, so we need to overcome 10 in order to resist burn and then poison. Can Maeve do it? Let's find out. She needs a 6+, and she gets a 10, so she avoids the burn. Let's go ahead again and roll against the poison, and she gets a 4. No burn, but she does get poison. Here we see Poison Mercenaries on activation, gain 1 fatigue token, then check Might 10. On success, remove poison. If monsters were to get poisoned, they have -1 accuracy and -1 speed. There is no lock symbol next to poison, so it can be dispelled or it can be done for free with the Might check. An enemy rolling tactics always targets a mercenary's head where we have no armor, so Maeve drops from 14 to 11 HP. Okay, now it's the mercenary's activation, and Gigarat has very high defense right now, a total of 8, so I'd be hitting on a 9+. I do want to start chipping away at him as we're getting close to corruption again, so I'm going to shift and try to reduce some of the grunts on the board, and the wreckers have a defense of 5, and the stickers have a defense of 3, so I'm going to try to prioritize the stickers. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and activate Halbjorn first, because if you recall, he has 5 health right now and has 2 fury. So I am going to move him 2 spaces, 1, 2, and he will then be adjacent to both stickers and Gigarat. This is a perfect time to get offensive with him. I am going to, for a free action, weapon switch to the blacksmith's hammer, adding +1 attack rate, but I do suffer some loss of damage per successful hit. But I'm going to spend 2 fury here in order to use for Marana, and I'll gain overpower +1 for each adjacent enemy. So 3 overpower and defense +1 for each adjacent enemy. Now removing my shield drops me to 3 defense, but with 4 Marana and being adjacent to 3 enemies, I now have a total of 6 for the first attack against me. So I think it's a fair trade-off. Now I'm going to try to attack the sticker in blue who has 6 health as compared to 5 health on the one in red. And I will be hitting on a 4+. So let's go ahead and make that attack. And I get a 4 and a 4. 2 hits and 2 damage per hit is 4 damage total. Plus overpower +3 from Formorana. And we have 7 damage. Drawing from the blood deck, we got legs and arms and gain offense up. Let's take a look at offense up. This is different from overpower +1. Overpower is damage that we add at the end of our calculation, whereas offense up is +1 to offense. Right now, each successful hit is 2 damage. Now, on my next attack, it'll be 3 per hit, and it's removed after the next attack. So we'll add that to his growing pile of buffs. 7 damage heading towards his legs or arms is reduced by 1 in either case, making it 6, but he only has 6 remaining HP, and therefore the blue sticker is vanquished, and we will remove him from the board. However, the red sticker is remaining, so we'll just slide him over like this so that we can clean up the dashboards and remove that. And Halbjorn gains a goblin head. With 1 action remaining, I'm going to do absolute control again. Now I don't have any fury to spend because that attack, while successful, used my skill for Marana, so I don't gain fury for that. So this will just be 2d10 hitting on a 4+. But because of offense +1 that I just got from the blood deck, I will be hitting or causing 3 offense, -2 from my offhand. So 4 is 2, but then +1 is 3. Hitting on a 4+, the sticker in red, we get a 7 and an 8. That is again 2 hits for 6 damage total. And we then remove offense up. Drawing from the blood deck, we get the head. 6 - 1 armor is 5, and he has 5 HP remaining. The final sticker is defeated. Halbjorn gets another goblin head, and we are just left with 1 Wrecker and Gigarat. Next, let's activate Maeve, who has poison. She will gain her 2 mana on activation, and recall, she has a might attribute of 2. Taking a look again at poison, we recall that on activation, you gain 1 fatigue token, so we'll place that now. Then you can check might 10, and on success, remove poison. So we get to roll a d10 and add it to our strength of 2. And we get a 4, so we do not get to remove poison. Okay, now speed is reduced by 1, as is my defense and accuracy with fatigue. So I have a speed of 4 with Maeve, so I can only move 3, and I'm going to do that like this. 1, 2, 3. That way I'm adjacent to the Wrecker, but also range 3 to Gigarat. As a second action, I will remove fatigue by using Mend. As my third and final action, I am going to attack the Goblin Wrecker, as his defense is lower than Gigarat, with Death and Life. But before I do that, I'm going to use my free action to heal an ally for 2, plus 1 healing power, 3, and give that to Halbjorn, who's currently at 5 health. This will give him a much needed boost to 8. Now I do have a life elixir, which for a free action will heal me for 5 health points, but I want to try to save these and stack them if I can to have them for a future more difficult fight. So I'm going to push my luck here a little bit and try to avoid using it. Okay, spending 3 mana, I'm going to use Death and Life and attack the Wrecker in blue. This will give me combat reroll 2, and on success, if I damage the enemy, I will be able to dispel 1 and remove my poison. Recall that the Wreckers currently have 5 defense total with their 1+4, and he has 10 remaining HP, so we're hitting on a 6+. Hitting on a 6+, we get a 5, a 1, and a 3. That is brutal, but we do have a critical fail, which is automatically a miss. We cannot re-roll that, so I have 1 die, which I can re-roll twice with combat re-roll 2, and we get a 4. I will re-roll it again, and we get a 3, a total whiff. Ouch, that stings a little bit. Now that ends Maeve's turn. She gained her 2 mana at the beginning of activation. Let's go ahead and use Mary. She'll activate and move 2 spaces to be within range 3 of the Wrecker. Of note, she still has fatigue, which I forgot to remove, and she would have moved from up here 1, 2, 3, which she couldn't have done. So she actually would be here right now due to reduced movement with fatigue. Therefore, I will mend this for 1 action and then move 3 with my second action to be within range. And I'm going to spend 1 mana to increase my accuracy because they have high defense here so that I can hit on a 5+ instead of a 6+, and I get to roll 3d8 with overpower +1 against grunts. Okay, here's hoping I have better luck this time. Hitting on a 5+, we get a 6, a 6, and a 4, so we get at least 2 hits for 2 damage, plus overpower +1 against grunts is 3, plus 1 overpower from my wit of 4 is 4 damage. Drawing from the blood deck, we hit him in the body. That's not ideal. 4 damage minus 2 armor is 2 damage, and he will drop to 8 HP. Okay, last but certainly not least is Saren, who is not fatigued, so she has her full speed of 4 and will move 1, 2, 3 and stop there, giving her range 4 to the Wrecker in blue. I need to try to eliminate this guy, so I am going to push my luck. I have defense down 2 right now, but let's do Elven Eyes again. I was leaning towards Flawless Composure to make sure I just prioritize hits and pick away at him, but that would leave him standing. At least here I'd have the opportunity to potentially kill him. So I'm going to do Elven Eyes. I'll stack defense down a 3rd time, and we will roll, hitting on a 6+ with d10s. And we get a 9, a 1, and a 1. That is brutal. That is only 2 damage plus overpower +1 from my wit of 4. So 3 damage to the body or arms. At least I get to choose there. So 3 damage minus 1 from the arm slot will drop him to 6 HP. Okay, I'm going to do that again because why not? Now, you can never have a defense lower than 1 because a defense of 0, if an enemy were to roll a 1 or you were to roll a 1 is a critical fail and is always a miss. So I can't go any lower, so I won't actually incur another defense down here. And when I roll, I get a 7 and a 5, so I only have 1 hit. Again, with overpower +1 is 3 damage. Getting close to the end of the blood deck, and we hit the body, so only 1 damage gets through, reducing the grunt to 5 HP. Okay, earlier before I moved Halbjorn here, he was adjacent to the blue Wrecker there, who made an attack against Halbjorn with overpower +2, and he had a 1 hit, a 4, and a 2, and we thought he had 2 misses. But like the stickers had the benefit of disengage 1 when being struck by an enemy, the Wreckers have a benefit of accuracy +1. So that 4 was actually a 5, and he would have hit. And that would have been another 2 damage with hitting Halbjorn. So he actually would have been at 3 HP before Maeve healed him. So now he's at 6 instead of 8. So I've just corrected that. Okay, looking at the Fate deck, we look at Stab of Opportunity. If an enemy has burn, none of us were burned from the earlier attack from Gigarat, so if there are no enemies with burn, attack a random enemy. So that grunt, he's going to roll a d4 and see who he's going to attack. Okay, and he gets a 2. And oh no, a 2 is Saren. Saren, still full health. She's number 2, but currently has defense down 3, so only 1 defense, which means the Wreckers will be hitting on a 2 plus. And he gets a 6, a 4, and a critical fail, therefore getting 2 hits for 2 damage apiece, 4 damage total, and defense down is removed. Recall that 1 being a critical fail cannot be augmented by the Wrecker's accuracy plus 1. A critical fail is always a miss. 4 damage heading towards Saren in the arms. She has no armor there, so taking a hit, she's going to lose a power and also eat all 4 damage, dropping to 12 health. That ends the round, and all mercenaries have used their gambit actions. So we're going to go ahead and move that corruption track up 1 and re-roll enemy defense die, and Gigarat gets a 1, but because of lucky left hand, he will re-roll that. And on re-roll, he gets a 5. All right, he's still pretty defensive there. We're hitting on an 8 plus for 7 total defense. And the last Wrecker will have a 5 as well. Ouch. Okay, for this activation, it is the grunts that go first. Protect me! Defenders, they attack the enemy closest to the leader with attack rate -1. That will be Halbjorn. The mercenaries then get to go next, and then Mad Cackle. If 2 or more grunts are killed, yes, there are 5 killed currently, move into optimal range and attack the enemy with the highest HP with overpower +1 for each killed grunt. Oh my goodness. The enemy closest to the leader is Halbjorn, so the blue Wrecker will move with a speed of 5 towards him to become adjacent. He's going to try to protect the leader, Gigarat, and attack with attack rate -1. And he gets a 6 and a 4. Recall, we removed Halbjorn's shield to be more offensive, so his defense is a 3. Therefore, that is 2 hits against Halbjorn for 4 damage. Drawing from the blood deck, we see he strikes Halbjorn in the arms. 4 minus 1 armor is 3, so he drops to 3 HP. Health getting critically low here. This is still at a threshold where if Halbjorn were to die or be incapacitated, he could roll a cheat death check. No, Halbjorn has defense up 3, and that's the first attack he's received since getting that. So his defense was 6. So the Wrecker actually doesn't inflict any damage. He does not exceed a defense of 6. So Halbjorn loses his defense up, but his health goes back up to 6. And that's why we recommend putting the tokens next to your mercenary and not on your dashboard. Okay, I'm feeling better about that now, so let's go ahead and activate the mercenaries, and we're going to do that first with Maeve. Due to still being poisoned on activation, she will be fatigued, and she will gain her 2 mana. She will also use her free action to heal Halbjorn for 3, bringing him up to 9. Before my first action, I'm going to roll to see if I get rid of poison, and I get a 3. No, that is not enough with my might. I'm going to mend to remove fatigue. I will then move for a total speed of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 to be adjacent to both the Wrecker and Gigarat. And for my final action, I am going to open the chest. And per the mission setup, it says chest, draw 1 common item, and then have 2 rolls on the Gigarat loot card with 1 reroll. You cannot get the item the leader is using, in this case, the lucky left hand. Interestingly, the mission rewards for completing this mission is 2 rolls on the Gigarat loot card, although you would not get a re-roll like you do from attempting it by opening the chest in the mission. So you can push your luck a little bit to waste a turn to do this here like I am, but you might have better odds of getting one of his relics. Taking a look at his loot card again, we see he has the lucky left hand, so we are looking for a 7, 9, or 10 in order to get one of his remaining relics. Okay, rolling d10s then, looking for a 7, 9, or 10. Yes, we get a 7, which is Gigarat's Stinky Boots, and we get a reroll on the 1, and we get a 2, which is a Hide. Okay, so here we go. We have Hide, which is a resource for crafting, and Stinky Boots, which offers 1 armor and +1 defense against melee attackers as long as it is equipped. Now, had Gigarat have drawn this earlier, he would have had a new benefit where he has an aura, and enemies within range of 2 would have accuracy -1. So you can see how, depending on what he gets, it's a completely different flavor and changes how that mission's going to unfold. To acquire this, once he has it, we would have to kill the leader with a critical hit. And recall, with the lucky left hand, we have to kill him when his defense is less than 5. Okay, so we're going to place Hide and Gigarat's boots into our inventory, and we see we have boots equipped right now, so we cannot slot that there. All right, I'm going to go ahead and activate Halbjorn next, who is adjacent to the blue Wrecker. The Wrecker has 6 defense, so I'm hitting on a 7+. For that reason, I'm going to use Perfect Balance, where I get Combat Reroll 1, and I'm choosing to lose 2 HP purposefully to drop my health to 7 to gain Accuracy +2. So instead of hitting on a 7+, now I'm hitting on a 5+ with Combat Reroll. And I still have an attack rate of 2 because I have my offhand hammer equipped. Hitting on a 5+, we get a 5 and a 2. With Combat Reroll 1, let's see if we can get, yes, that is a 7. That is 2 hits for 4 damage. Drawing our blood card, we see we strike him in the legs. That's the best slot where they have 0 armor, and so 5 minus 4 damage is 1 remaining HP. Okay, that worked out well, and I'm feeling a little gutsy. We know from reading Mad Cackle earlier that Gigarat's going to attack the enemy with the highest HP this round. So I'm going to go ahead and do the exact same thing for my second action and lose 2 HP and make that same attack again. So here we go. Hitting on a 5+, we have a 5 and a 1. That is a critical miss. So that is just 2 damage, and unfortunately I can't use Combat Reroll to reroll the critical miss. So we draw a blood card and we get the arms, so 2 damage to the arms. And with 1 armor, that's reduced to 1 damage, putting him at 0 HP, and we have effectively removed all of the grunts. Now, while the corruption track is currently at 2 with 1 corruption left on the board, to mitigate that, unfortunately, by killing the last grunt, which I did purposefully to reduce incoming damage round by round, this instantly corrupts Gigarat and he flips to his more lethal state. As he didn't have any damage and was at full health at 25, now he jumps to 30. We also see that he becomes more lethal in that he rolls 4 instead of 3d8, and he has Thorns 2 now instead of Thorns 1, and Overpower +1 per corruption. There's 1 corruption bloom left on the map, so he will have Overpower +1. Now again, Thorns 1 was what he had previously, and that last Halbjorn ended next to Gigarat earlier and is still currently adjacent from that earlier move. So he should have taken Thorns 1, which I didn't do. So I'm going to reduce his health now from 5 to 4. And if I leave Halbjorn where he currently is adjacent to Gigarat after his 3rd and final action, he'll get Thorns 2 now. And so I think it's time we move Halbjorn out of the way. So let's go ahead and do that then. We know we killed the blue wrecker, so he's removed. And we're going to move Halbjorn away from Gigarat to no longer be adjacent, so we will move there and stop. Actually, that's not in keeping with Halbjorn's character. Let's move him back and not do that. Instead, he's going to drink his life elixir, gain 5 HP, putting him to 9, and he's going to end up ending his activation next to Gigarat after taking a swipe at him. So let's just go ahead then and take 2 Thorns damage now in advance. Now Gigarat becoming corrupted, his defense of 2 at base is now 0. so he's a little bit squishier while being more lethal. So his defense is actually 5, and to acquire the lucky left hand, we need to kill him when it's below 5. So now's a good time to pack a punch and hopefully set ourselves up for that in the future. So instead of hitting on a 6+, I'm going to do the same thing and do perfect balance again and gain fatigue, but now be hitting on a 4+ with combat reroll 1. Now, as I did not use a skill those last 2 attacks, I actually do gain fury for that, and so I would have 4 fury built up right now. I don't want to use 4 Marana just now. I want to prioritize accuracy and getting damage. So Halbjorn gets a fatigue, and he gets to attack hitting on a 4+, and he gets a 6 and an 8. That is a critical hit and another hit that is 4 damage, plus whatever we get from the blood deck. The blood deck has been completely used, so we quickly take that and shuffle. So 4 damage going towards Gigarat's legs or arms, +1 is 5, but we gain offense up for our next attack. His lowest armor slot has a armor of 1, so 5 minus 1 is 4, so he will drop from 30 to 26 HP. And Halbjorn will end his turn fatigued. Let's go ahead and activate Saren next, who no longer has defense down stacked. She is going to spend 1 focus to bring the next attack have defense dice reduced by 1. Currently, she's not within range or within line of sight, so unfortunately I can't do Impetuous Haste 3 times in a row and use Bullseye, or I would. So instead I'll move and then use Elven Eyes as my next preferable attack to gain attack rate +1. So moving up to a speed of 4, she will go here, and closest corner does have line of sight to the middle of Gigarad's base. With an attack rate of 3 hitting on 6+, we have a 3, a 3, and a 6. Thank goodness 1 hit gets through. 2 damage and 1 overpower for 3 going to Gigarat's head. Because successful, his defense die will decrease to 4, and he takes 3 minus 1 is 2 damage, dropping him to 24 HP. So Saren used move, an ability, and then attacked with Elven Eyes, so she gains 3 focus here and ends her activation. Last but certainly not least, we have Mary, who will activate, and she will move 1, 2 to be within range. Closest corner right there can have line of sight. She will gain 2 mana for a total of 3. And with 2 remaining actions, I will do Elemental Mastery 2 times in a row. So spend 2 mana to gain Overpower +1 both times, and I am now hitting on a 5+. My first attack, we have a 12, an 11, and a 9. That is a crit and 2 hits for 3 damage. Plus I have Overpower from spending the 1 mana. Plus I have Overpower from my Wit. That's a total of 5. And I have +1 to crit from my Luck of 4. That is 6 damage before drawing the blood card. Gotta love Mary the Fairy Explosive Mage. Here we go. And it's only 1 additional crit damage for a total of 7. Still, that is a massive first attack against Gigarat. His lowest slot will have an armor of 1, so 6 damage gets through, reducing him from 24 to 18 remaining HP. Let's go ahead then and do my third action, and we have a 7, 1, and 2. Not nearly as nice. That is only 3 damage with my 2 overpower. And we strike him in the legs. 3 minus 1 armor is 2, drops to 16 health remaining. Okay, that ends our activation, and now because 2 or more grunts are killed, Gigarat will move into optimal range and attack the enemy with the highest HP with Overpower +1 for each killed grunt. That is Overpower +6. Ouch! Mary has 12 health, and Saren has 12 health, and they are my 2 highest. Mary's dashboard is number 1, and Saren's is number 2, so let's roll and see who we get. 3, no. 2, that will be Saren. Moving to optimal range, he will move 5 speed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to be 4 away from Saren and still has 2 fire arrows, so he will use one of those now. As Gigaret is now corrupted, he's rolling 4 d8s with 3 offense per hit, and he has overpower +1 per corruption. There is 1 corruption still on the board, so he'll end up having overpower +7. I think I'm going to use a fatigue to use distracting shot. When an enemy in range activates, you may gain fatigue to force the enemy to reroll all hits. So I am going to fatigue Saren to that effect and try to mitigate any potential incoming damage here. She is now fatigued and has a defense of 4, a defense of 3 due to fatigue. So Gigaret will be hitting on a 4+, and we get a 5, 4, 2, and 2, forcing him to reroll those 2 hits. He gets a 6 and a 3, so that is only 1 hit for 3 damage plus overpower 7, making that 10. Using the fire arrow, he's also going to inflict burn, and Saren has a faith of 2, so needs an 8 or higher, and she gets a 1, so she will get burn. Drawing from the blood deck, we see Gigaret strikes her in the head. 10 minus 1 is 9. That is going to reduce her to 3 remaining HP. And she has burn. Okay, that ends our round, so we will move corruption up 1, although the leader is already corrupted. I'm just doing it here for muscle memory, and re-rolling his defense die, and we get a 3, so he does not re-roll that with lucky left hand. Then looking at the next fate card, we get, oh no, Gigaret's going to go first. Bold strategy. If the leader's defense die is 3 or lower, which it is, move into optimal range and attack the closest enemy with overpower +1. Then disengage. His closest target is Halbjorn, currently at range 4, so he will move to optimal range, which is range 5, and attack with overpower +1 and spend that last fire arrow. He also gains an overpower for having 1 corruption still on the board, so that's an overpower +2 total. Now Halbjorn currently has fatigue and offense up. So with his fatigue, his defense is down 1, and he currently doesn't have his shield equipped. So that puts his defense at 2. So Gigaret will be hitting on a 3+ with an attack rate of 4, and he gets a 5, 7, and 8 with a critical miss. 3 hits times 3 damage is 9, plus 2 overpower is 11. Drawing a blood deck, we see that he gets tactics. Oh no. So that is 11 damage heading towards Halbjorn's head, where he has no armor, and that will kill him regardless of poison or burn, so I won't worry about those. And so his HP will go from 7 to 0. However, as he was above 3 before that happened, he gets to roll a cheat death. Halbjorn's luck is 4 with his secondary attribute point, and therefore we need a 6+ in order to cheat death. And we get a critical fail. That is not good. Halbjorn is incapacitated. Okay, now Halbjorn will get an injury, and he gets a heavy injury. Attack rate is -1 permanently while he has this, and it can only be healed in the town of Westarch. Okay, so Halbjorn is incapacitated and dies. He will lose offense up, and we will move that, and fatigue is now gone. We lay him down to represent that he is incapacitated, and Gigaret will now disengage 3, ending his turn. Okay, Mary's going to activate first, and for her first action, she's going to spend 2 to revive Halbjorn. She's then going to try to resolve this corruption token, but she only has a faith of 1, so I need to have a very good roll, and the difficulty's up by 2 because Gigaret is already corrupted. So let's take a look for her final action as we use the first 2 to revive Halbjorn, and we see that it is a 6 on fail, 1 true damage. Now, that's not ideal. So we need to roll a 5 or better, and we get a 5. Yes, so that is, sorry, no, No, we needed, it was +2 difficulty and 8, so we actually fail. My mistake. 1 true damage to Mary, and that ends her turn. We revived Halbjorn. He now has this heavy injury, which I'm leaving above his dashboard with attack rate -1. And when you revive, you gain half of your base health, so he will actually increase to 10 HP. And at the beginning of that activation, Mary would have gained 2 mana. Maeve is going to activate next, but she has poison and therefore gains fatigue and will have to spend an action to remove it unless she's fortunate on her might check. And she has a might of 2 plus 1 is 3. She is unsuccessful, so still has poison. So she'll use her first action to remove fatigue, and then she will move for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. She's going to use her free action to heal Saren, who's currently at 3 HP, increasing Saren to a total of 6. Gain her 2 mana from activation earlier, and she used that free action to heal Saren. With 1 action remaining, she's just going to move to be closer to Gigarat. 1, 2, 3, 4. We will then activate Saren, who due to burn takes 2 true damage on activation, which decreases her health to 4, and she'll lose a focus for that. She will then use 1 action to remove fatigue, and then use a move action 1, 2, 3, 4 to end there at range 4 to Gigarat and have 1 action remaining. Gigarat currently has a defense of 3, so I'm going to try to pack as much punch as I can here, and I am going to use Elven Eyes again and take a defense down to increase my attack rate. Taking defense down and hitting on a 4+, we get a 3, a 10, and a 4. That is great. That's 2 hits for 4 damage. Overpower +1 is 5, plus the crit. Drawing from the blood deck, we get 2 extra damage. That's 7, and we get to choose the location. Let's pick the head. 7 minus 1 armor is 6, reducing Gigarat to 10 HP. I'm going to use an ability called Instigate twice, which moves an enemy 2 spaces towards Halbjorn, and that will cost me 4 Fury. I don't like that Gigarat is down here in this narrow alley where I can't really get to him easily, so this will pull Gigarat 4 spaces towards Halbjorn. Halbjorn has 1 action remaining, so he will just move up but not be adjacent to avoid thorns. Unfortunately, Saren will take 2 true thorns damage, and this will reduce her HP to 2. And that ends this round, as Shiv and Run does not apply as all grunts are dead. So corruption track will go up by 1. That's just muscle memory. Let's re-roll the defense die, and no, we get a 6. Oh no. So we have to reduce that by 2 in order to be successful at getting Lucky Left Hand. That's all going to come down to this fake card. Let's see. And we see it's the grunts activating first, which there are none, so we get to go first. This is an opening. Let's seize it. Let's do Maeve first. On activation, she gains 2 mana for a total of 6, where she didn't use any last round. And let's use her free action to heal someone for 3. Halbjorn's currently at 10 and Saren's at 2, so let's heal Saren. This will bring Saren up to 5 HP. Rolling a might check to remove poison, we get a critical success. Finally, that is enough with my base of 2 to meet 10 or exceed it, and we remove poison at the beginning of my turn. This means we don't gain fatigue, so I don't have to waste an action to remove it. So let's go ahead then for my first action and move adjacent to Gigarat. With my 2 remaining actions, I will spend 4 mana to do Break Tactics twice in an attempt to hit him and remove his defense die, or lower it. Rolling 3 d12s, needing a 7 or higher to hit. We have a 3, a 12, and a 4. That is 1 crit. I will take it. And that's 2 total with my offhand overpower +1. Drawing from the blood deck, we get +1 crit for a total of 3, and we choose the location. And we also gain power +1. Power +1, we gain that immediately. And let's reduce his defense die to 5 as we were successful. And 3 minus his head slot of 1 armor reduces him to 8 HP. Now let's go ahead and make that same attack again. Now hitting on a 6+, we have a 10, 7, and 9. 3 hits, no crits, plus overpower +1 is 4 damage. And that will be headed towards his body, unfortunately, where he has 2 armor, so only 2 damage gets through, dropping him to 6 HP. However, his defense die is now at 4 as we were successful. So if we were to kill the leader now, we would acquire Lucky Left Hand. All right, let's go ahead and activate Sarah next. She is going to move 1, 2, 3, 4 to be at optimal range from Gigarat and will make a attack. She will spend 1 to use Hawkeye as her second action, which will lower the enemy's defense die by 1 if successful, and she will then spend 4 power to use Bullseye and Impetuous Haste. So she's rolling 2d8 with overpower +1 and gets to choose the hit location. Hitting on a 5+, she has a 5 and a 7. That is 2 successful hits with overpower +1 from Bullseye and overpower +1 from Wit. That is a total of 6 damage. Drawing from the blood deck, we strike Gigarat in the legs. 6 minus 1 is 5 damage, leaving him at 1 remaining HP. And his defense die goes down to 3 as we used Hawkeye. With my move action, Hawkeye, and Bullseye, 3 actions complete. We gain 3 focus and end our turn. Halbjorn, feeling salty about taking the heavy injury from Gigarat and being incapacitated, is going to activate next. He has no fury, so he is just going to move up. His first action to be adjacent to Gigarat. His second action will be to lose 2 HP in order to gain accuracy +2 with perfect balance and combat reroll 1. Normally would be hitting on a 4+, but because of accuracy +2, is now hitting on a 2+. Here we go, and we have a 7 and a 2. That is 2 successful hits for 4 damage from Halbjorn. Pushing our luck to see if we can crit with that 2. We get a 6. No, we don't, but, he would try. Drawing the blood card, we strike Gigarat in the head where he has 1 armor, so 4 minus 1 is 3. With 1 HP remaining, this defeats Gigarat. His defense is below 5, and we claim Lucky Left Hand. Gigarat does not provide us with a goblin head, but where we vanquished 6 goblins, we do have 6 total and get to roll 6 times on the humanoid loot table. Where we already looted Gigarat's chest, we no longer get to roll on it, but I forgot to draw the 1 consumable we get, the 1 common gear item we get by opening the chest, so I'll draw that now. I've gone ahead and placed Lucky Left Hand in Halbjorn's dashboard. Drawing from the common item deck, we get a Peasant's Cap, which I will also immediately place on Halbjorn's head. Normally that should go to Maeve, but as she was the one that looted the chest, but we're now past the mission, so I'll just give it to him. Okay, let's look at the humanoid loot table where we get 6 rolls, and you see the results for 1 through 10. Rolling 6 die on the humanoid loot table, we have a 10, a 6, 1, 7, and 4. That represents a magic dust times 2, a leather, a wood, a copper, and a copper. So overall, a nice spread of loot. Now completing the second mission, we level up. We gain 1 tier 1 skill card, unlock a 3rd ability slot, and our max HP goes up by 2. That means Saren's HP would start at 18 in the next mission, Halbjorn at 22, Maeve at 18, and Mary at 14. We'd also gain one of our next abilities, and these would be tier 1. So it would be another red ability we can use during combat on our turn, and there's a variety of them to choose from that you get to slot in here based on the build that you want. We also unlock a second tier 1 skill card, and stealing one from Maeve just to show an example, this is what would happen. This is the tier 1 column, and so we've already slotted in lightning in this fashion. When we first started the game, we would have had the opportunity to choose from one of 3 cards like this to slot in whichever way we want. Now you can see that there is lightning, and on the backside, lightning, just in 2 different positions, but the exact same skill. The passive, however, is different on both sides, and you are forced to choose where you want to place it, like this or like that. But once placed, you can't move it again. So you really have to be forward thinking about how you want to play your mercenary, build them, synergize your passives and active skills with your attack profiles, as well as your abilities, as well as the bonuses from your gear and weapons and perks, and then synergize with your other 3 mercenaries. Now, how the next skill card layers in is you get to, again, here's the active skill, Death and Life. It's the same on both sides, but the passive is different. And so you could take this and slot it over top, exchanging the passives. You could take it like this and lose this passive for 2 active skills with a new passive down here linked to your bottom. You could slot this under, hiding and keeping the original passive but adding a new skill, or slide it under and hide the skill entirely but just stack the passive onto your bottom attack profile. So much choice, and completely changes replayability and character build playthrough through playthrough. Heading back to town, we have all those resources we mentioned, plus our corruption tokens, plus our goblin heads, and let's not forget we also had Gigarat's stinky boots, hide, and a gold. In my next video, I will review town phase and what that looks like in Westarch as we recover it, and we'll then follow that with the travel phase.